Well, hi, and welcome back to Scrapbook Your Legacy with Carrie. I know it's been a couple of weeks. I hope you're having a good summer, even though it's almost over. Kids are back to school. I do not have kids in school, but I had one move out this summer. So we are now officially child-free in the home, although I say we probably have a fluctuating nest. Anyway, I spent the past couple of weeks really trying to finish up my Colorado album, and this is I wanted to show this to you. This is the custom foiled album spine, or album that came with the Deeper in the Woods collection. If it's still available, I will link it below in the show notes, but I just thought this was just such a beautiful album cover for the Colorado and Wyoming trip. And anyway, it did come with a buy it all bundle. So, all right, well, let's get going on this. Some of these are videos, and please excuse, I tried to take care of the glare prior to this, but it's just kind of hard. So there are videos for some of these. This was the title page, and I don't know if you can see it too well, but you can see the detail in it, and there is a video for this. So there was a circle cut in, you can see the embellishments there, how I ink them. And this was our family photo for this trip. All right, so going along. I did do a video for this one too. I might have to pause. There we go. That's a little bit better. I tried to put some paper up in the skylight, but okay. So this was using up scraps, creating strips with banners, banner tails at the bottom. And it was just a neat way to use up older collections that had to do with travel, using up older embellishments. And I liked how this turned out. There is a peekaboo pocket here with some journaling about our trip. And then just various photos from traveling through the airports. And I included this Lufthansa airline. It's an Airbus, and I have never seen anything so large. So, but of course, pictures sometimes just don't do things justice. So anyway, so that was that one. And then in here, this is the Deeper in the Woods collection. So inking, using the wave trimmer, doing some tearing techniques, and then using some of my stash along with Deeper in the Woods embellishments to finish out this photo. I did use a lot of the beige cardstock as a background instead of white, with a lot of the chocolate. And there's Peekaboo Pocket here for along our drive. And then the journaling box. And so I did do some tearing in here and then tore it down a little bit to reveal more of the green. But this is just a great way to stretch your papers when you're trying to do a whole album. So anyway, so that was fun, stopping at Buc-ee's and getting a picture with my son there. And then here, again, using some embellishments that I have, but also this was a busier, like photorealistic paper that is used as a frame around this. And I think that's a great way to use those photorealistic papers as frames or bookends. Again, bringing in different colored papers to bring in the colors, and then inking the edges to add some more interest. Again, the beige cardstock. And then I do like to use 8x10s in a travel album. I did way too many for this one, so they didn't all get used. Again, some of my own embellishments, but then Deeper in the Woods is here. Double matted this to bring out the colors in the grass, and all of these colors blend really well with the chocolate browns. Put a sticker on the photo. Don't be afraid to do that. And then again, these are things I've shared in other videos, using a postcard as a title. So here we are in Wyoming. I mean, this grassland is just incredibly beautiful. It's just... Again, sometimes I feel like pictures don't do it justice, the vastness of this area. The Rocky Mountains are way back here. But anyway, beautiful area. And then while in Wyoming, we went to Fort Caspar. So using wood as a frame and then bringing in older papers. This is, I want to say, a vintage Creative Memories paper back when it was like 8.5 by 11. They're blue and white check. And then I just backed it with some of the green, doing some paper tearing, using some of my stamps, but then using this punch. And let me grab that punch. I didn't grab it beforehand, but it was part of the release with Deeper in the Woods. And I'll bring over a couple of punches that I used throughout this album. All right, so this is the punch that came with this. All right, so the trees are going this way. All right, and there I do have a sketch in this album. So that is where these trees come from. And I love this punch because of that, because you can either use it as cutouts or you can have individual embellishments in it. So I think that is a great way to use a punch. Again, the tab punch, and then Lauren Hines makes these stickers. So a lot of peekaboo pockets to fit pictures. Over here, Fort Caspar, my journaling is on the back of this postcard. And then, you know, smaller photos. So if you print at home, it's nice to be able to do smaller photos like that. Here I used, I think this is a white background paper. All right, that was something I can't show because that was someone's private wedding. But I will kind of show half of that layout. So hang on one second. Okay, there we go. We can do it this way. Okay. So here, look at that beautiful mountain, right? So from, I'm trying to remember what collection it is, but they had these rub-ons that were in a copper color. So I did a rub-on onto the photo, and a Copper Canyon, that's what it was. Copper Canyon 1. I didn't get Copper Canyon 2. But anyway, this was some of those, and I thought it went well with, this was the backdrop for the wedding. The bride and groom were right here, and this is what the backdrop was. And during the wedding, there were 2 golden eagles flying overhead. I mean, and it looks so close, but it is a long walk out to there, but it is the backyard. So, and then here I used some of the Copper Canyon, the turquoise paper, tore it, inked it, brought in some of those copper embellishments. You can see it better this way. So the arrow, made some tags with the paper. Yeah, so that was that. And then here, using more, here I used one of the new stencils from Creative Memories, practicing with it, trying to get used to it. This is a sticker that I used like a tag. A lot of paper tearing to continue that rustic look, the use of a postcard for a title. And then here I did a grid with using some of the squares for embellishments. Again, the paper tearing and the inking right here. Okay, so I have this on both ends, and I do use this again in the album. You will see that. But doing grids like this is a great way to fit a lot of photos that don't need to be the hero photos. So this is what we did. I did cut a card, a pocket card to go with the, you know, to create an embellishment and go with my journaling. So there are a lot of peekaboo pockets in here. One thing I learned is that the wagons that they went across country in were not like in the movies. They are tiny. I mean, tiny as far as they're maybe 10 feet long, but they're only, you know, 3 or 4 feet wide. So tiny. So it's just interesting to me that they traveled cross country and all this and tried to carry furniture in it. I mean, I'm sure there were some bigger wagons, but it's just, it's like the size of a half bath. So, and they sleep in it and pack it in. So I don't think it was easy going across country. All right, Cheyenne, Wyoming. If you have never been, beautiful. I want to say Victorian era city. We learned it was considered the Paris of the West at its time, and it is a beautiful city. So here I use my own die cuts, which now Creative Memories has released their die cutting and embossing system. So be looking out for that. A lot of people like stickers. I still have stickers, but for this album, I tried to carry a font all the way through for cohesiveness. Again, using some of my stash and doing some paper tearing. I also, this is from, I want to say the Rainbow Gradient collection, and then an older papers from other travel collections in the past couple of years. So I just used some rustic looking papers to kind of bring in that stone feeling from here. This is the railroad station. All right, so those are some of the techniques. Here's the map paper, and that shows up again. And then this stone paper here that I tore. All right, more of Cheyenne. There is a video for this. This is where I made my own bricks on the back of, on the beige cardstock, and then I backed it in this. This is the caramel, the new caramel paper that came out last fall. So I did a frame style layout, and then brought in more of my stash, you know, leftovers, bits of paper to finish it out. So this is also more of the stash, and I wrinkled the paper and then inked it to give it an aged look, so you can kind of see some of that. Wrinkled it, used one of these, all right, and just did a light rub. You know, you can do that depending on how much pressure you put on. And I love how this layout turned out. I even inked these, after I crumpled them up, I inked them to give them an aged look, like they were dirty, old brownstone bricks. So I love how this turned out. Of course, now Creative Memories has come out with a brick stencil, which I have used in here. Again, same font coming through. I had to go back when I was finishing up this album to find out what park this was. But this is a beautiful park in Cheyenne that has some trains, a whole garden that has to deal with the history of Cheyenne. It's like a walk through time with beautiful carvings and some of the benches that represent life around Cheyenne. So that was a fun stop. Again, photorealistic paper here used as a paper frame and to bring texture into an otherwise fairly simple layout, but I like how the pine trees look around here. So that's what I did there. This is a departure because this restaurant was very bright. This is in Boulder. We picked up my other son from the airport. He was not here for Wyoming. So this is other stash of mine. I am a Creative Memories advisor, but I do also like other papers. So this is other papers for this. But I liked how it brought in the colors. And this is an original Whole Foods market. And if you can see the turquoise, I decided to bring in that turquoise color for that. I'll tell you, that pizza was amazing. And then to kind of try to tie in some of the color from over here, like that turquoise color, this is what I have here for our hotel. And you can see the view from where we were staying. And just some of my stash. And then again, the use of 8x12s or 8x10s stash, but also using up bits of paper. This is the new plum, I want to say it's the plum cardstock from Creative Memories. So bringing out the color of the flowers, layering embellishments here. I did cut a tree trunk in half and carried it across the page. So I do love how this turned out. Beige with the plum. I don't think it was the other color that they have right now, but anyway. And then layering photos, stamping on it. That's what I did to bring interest to this. And it's a very simple because I really wanted these 8x10s to stand out, and you can see that one there. So this is up in Boulder in a historic section called Chautauqua. And this is the Flatiron area where you can hike, and these are the Flatirons up in here. More of that hike here I stamped. I used a postcard and framed it with one of the frames from Deeper in the Woods. And I love this postcard. It's a watercolor. Bringing in more of that plum, carrying it through this. There is a photorealistic paper back here that's a mossy tree trunk, and it brought in some of that avocado color. And this Border Maker cartridge came out in the fall. This is that leaf and acorn. And I just punched the avocado and chocolate brown or hot fudge and layered that for the acorns. Again, another postcard here, Nature Awaits, beautiful watercolor feeling. And this is a looking down from the top of the Flatirons. So beautiful hike. We really enjoyed it. Again, how to use different kinds of papers together. Also brought in some more of the hot fudge here and here as well to kind of frame out this avocado, mossy paper. A lot of inking as well. Again, another departure. This is using an older red collection that Crave Memories had. I can't remember, it was just an advisor only. But here we are, and my boys like to go, my young men, I should say, they're not boys anymore, like to go to these museums. And I'm just like, pick museums in our area. Let's go see what we have. So this was a transportation. It was Forney. Trains, all kinds of automobiles. So I found this print that looks like wheels. So I did a larger border over here, brought in the red, brought in a textured paper here, some more of the red on this side to carry it across. And then this is like a chain link border maker cartridge that I thought kind of rounded out. And I did it on our light gray cardstock. And I do like how this turned out. And so it's a little departure from the deeper in the woods, but I feel like it has a rustic enough look to tie it all together. All right, downtown Denver. Here, I'm still using up some of my stash. I have white paper, but then I brought in the beige in the middle. I think this is 5 and then 7 inches. More of the stone to represent the buildings, and then the map to represent the roads around Greenville. And these are from either Wanderlust or another travel collection. But again, I have scraps. I'm trying to use them up a little bit. Some of Copper Canyon here, bringing in different colors that are in the brick, in tags. This is another paper that has the words, travel words on it. And so I created a tag. You're going to see different embellishments here. And what I did is I had downloaded some of the Crave Memories paper packs that you can do those. They're bringing them back at some point. And so I had the embellishments, and so I blew them up into the size that I knew I wanted to fill the pages, and then printed them on my photo paper and then cut them out. So that's how I got these. And then when I printed this on Canva, did the title right on it. So this is looking at Union Station. So we were standing in the middle of the street taking photos. Here's my son in the middle of the street. And then layering some vellum over paper, tearing it to create some interest. All this area is just so rustic, and it's beautiful. And so more of the Copper Canyon to bring in some rusticness here. And then a stamp here, like a border here, just to create some more interest on the page. All right, a lot of you saw this being demoed, right? This is the Rhino District in Denver, which is the arts district, and it's also some fantastic shopping. And so I was trying to figure out how to do this urban feel with the colors that are in this. How do I unify it? And okay, same die cut alphabet. This is the rainbow gradient papers that pulled in enough of the colors that are in this to create a cohesive layout, and then use that plum cardstock with a border maker cartridge to make it look kind of like a chain link fence that had kind of been torn up a little bit. That was my idea. And then the yellow was another unifying color and kind of helps to calm it all down. So I do love how this turned out. I didn't ink anything. I really wanted the paintings, the graffiti to stand out. There's some sculpture here, but a lot of interesting graffiti in and around this area. This is just stickers all over pipes that go into a building, right? This was actually downtown Denver, not the Rhino District, but beautiful graffiti. I really enjoyed seeing the artistry of this area. So if you're ever in Denver, get out and see some of these areas. Beautiful. All right, chipmunk, same font. Did some stamping here with layering colors. And then bringing in different pieces. This might have been a riff on a sketch from the creative design team over at Stamping Up. But anyway, inking at the corners with the leaves. You can see that here. So I blended greens and browns to get these, there you go, you can see that there, these colors, okay? And then I have to fix this, but this is my journaling is in a pocket, and I did that with some tape in here that, like foam squares, but it's foam tape to fit that. Again, another 8x10. We had a lot of fun with these chipmunks. They do literally come up to you and they will take food out of your hand. And so that was a fun day. All right, all right, so my friend was like, why don't you punch something out and create a stencil? And did I listen to her? No. And then I was watching something with the Creative Chatterbox, Melissa Ullman, and she did it. And so I think in this video, I think there's a video for this. I'm not sure. All right, so there is wood paper behind these, just on beige, keeping it simple. This is my stash. This is from deeper in the woods here. But what I did is I punched the mountains. So I used this punch, okay? Just punched it on white paper and then inked over it with the ink that goes with the hot fudge. That's what I did, and it's done, okay? And I do love how these have turned out. This was a Melissa Ullman sketch. I did change it up a little bit. I did not have the Border Maker cartridge that she had. There is a video for this. It uses a lot of paper, but I wanted to do something interesting, and I did not have a lot of photos for this hike. And so I just decided to play, and I thought this was an interesting border and layout, and I changed it up a little bit, but not much. And this is using that pine tree punch, all right? So punching it out, so this is the actual border here, but then we punch papers, flip the papers, put them in there. I forget what Border Maker cartridge this was supposed to be, but this is what I had that was close to it, and I love how it turned out. Shadowed it with hot fudge. All right, and then again, bringing the papers over here and using the trees from that punch also as embellishment, so you can see that there. Brought in some tags, brought in some of my own die cuts as well, and I love how this turned out. These are some of the ones that I finished up off video to finish this album. So this is Deeper in the Woods. Again, just cutting the paper, layering it, tearing it. I have avocado behind this on beige. Did a couple stamps, inked everything up. I like how it turned out with the torn edges, bringing in the stripe, a tone-on-tone pine tree. It's just enough for these photos, and I do love how that turned out. You can see it right there. I love how it turned out, and I just figured out how much of these stripes I wanted visible, and I cut the same thing for the other side so that they match, and voila, got simple border on each side. This I did a video for. This was an idea I got from Chelsea Vorsmarty over at the Creative Design Team with Stamping Up, where she used dies to create a white on white paper that was supposed to look like a textured paste paper, but instead of using paste, she used die cuts. And I used this punch. I did not use the planes. I just used the clouds. And this is one of those very versatile punches. So I really enjoyed it. And I do like how this turned out using navy and beige. But the reason I did a tone-on-tone layout like this with the clouds is because as much as you see the mountains in these, it's the clouds that really stand out to me. And that was what I was trying to do with the pictures, was get the movement of the clouds. And that's why the mountains are minimal in this photo, and the cloud is the bigger portion. It's 2/3 versus like 1/3, or 1/4 versus 3/4. And so I like how the clouds are just kind of a whisper in the background, and it's a clean layout. And then a couple of stamped arrows to just bring in a little bit more. This was also I think a video. Used a Border Maker cartridge and just using up scraps, again, on beige cardstock, inking it, used a 12-inch trimmer blade to bring in some interest here. So you can see that a little bit better if I bring it up. You can see that there's this blade cut, and then I inked it up to give it a little more definition. And I like how this turned out. I used stickers and papers as this I just picked up at Rocky Mountain at the gift shop. and then a tone-on-tone paper. I brought in one of the pine trees. You can't really see the stamp here, but I like how this all layered up. And then I cut an embellishment here, stamped on it, you know, a circle embellishment. So Deeper in the Woods had beautiful embellishments, and then I like how I actually fixed this. I wanted it all going that way, and I realized I had to flip the paper over to punch it to go that way, but I like how it's going in both directions, and I'm good with it. I need to journal in here, but this was a lake that we stopped at. Beautiful. We had never been able to get down into this lake before. Either there was too much snow in the early summer, or the weather wasn't conducive, but anyway, this time we got to hike there, and we enjoyed it. All right, downtown Boulder. I used the stamp border maker cartridge, like a stamp edge. And I think it looks a little bit like, you know, when you look at these old homes, how the bricks kind of stick out at the end of the homes, you know, at the corners. And so that's what I was trying to do. So this is caramel paper layered over the deep green paper, dark green paper. And this here is the new stencil that is the bricks. I still like my paper bricks that I made, and I love how that layout turned out. But it was fun to do a stencil here, and I do love how it turned out. So I used at the top and at the bottom of the page here, behind the photos to bring some interest. This is stash paper from another travel collection. But I like how this turned out. And again, a lot of different photos with different colors, but all of these colors are in these photos. 2 postcards for titles to show that we were in Boulder, but also in the historic Pearl Street area, the shopping district of Boulder. There's a farmer's market going on, some of the thrift stores that we went into, which were just so interesting. So I do love how that turned out. This was a video where I took a Pinterest layout that was, you know, kind of blocked off like this, and did this layout of the botanical gardens with some peekaboo pockets around it, because I have a hard time saying no to flower pictures. But used a tone on, here I used that plum color with the avocado green. So I used the 5-leaf punch, as well as a border maker cartridge here that's like the climbing vine, same letters. I just did DBG for Denver Botanical Garden. And I used a tone-on-tone paper that was very similar to this plum color. This color was very prevalent in the flowers that I chose. This could have been a super busy layout with all kinds of colors from the garden, because there's so many floral colors. But what I decided to do was to hone it into one color palette that would carry across and make it more cohesive. So not every flower made it into this layout, but I love how this turned out, and it's a good representation of the garden. All right, this is one that I did last week while I was trying to finish up the album. The white behind to just brighten, you know, lift this layout a little bit with the cool gray cardstock or light gray cardstock. Same font. This is the Union Pacific Big Boy. I didn't feel like cutting out Union Pacific. I used the punch that comes with the border maker cartridge. It's the picket fence punch. I cut off the picket top to create what looks like a stylized railroad track. Okay, it's not a railroad track, it's stylized. All right, so just trying to get the idea across. Did some stenciling here of rings and drips, you know, so it looks like, you know, oil maybe drip, because this was the Union Pacific yard where they worked on the trains. Or no, this was not. This was down the road from it, but just kind of a grungy, you know, here we are near a factory. So just kind of trying to create that look. They were working on the train a little bit when it was stopped in Greeley. This is Greeley, Colorado. More of that map paper. This was almost the last of it. A lot of inking in here to just kind of make it a little more rustic. So I love how this turned out. Really happy with this layout. I brought in the red to pull in the red that was on these 2 cars and help them stand out, and also in the Union Pacific logo here. But this train, it was just remarkable, and I saved the video because I had sent it to my parents. But again, you know, pictures cannot describe the sheer size of this train and how it just, what it does to you emotionally, it just, you know, and maybe not everybody responds to, but I've never been around a train this big out on a track. You know, I've seen them in museums. So it was just an incredible feeling with everyone lining the tracks for miles, everyone cheering, you know, the American flag and the Colorado flag on the front of the train. And then they wrote on the front, Big Boy. So it was a historic train ride. They do it periodically, but it's one of these historic train rides. And my son found out about it, and we're like, why not? This is Lime Tart. It was a paper collection that had come out. I think it was like a buy, spend, get promo. Same font, dies that I used to round this out. This is that same stencil that I used back as a border. All right, so here I brought it in as part of the embellishment cluster. All right, so that's all stenciled. And this is from our latest collection, Your Own Way. This was a page kit that they had, and I didn't use the grass, so I used it here. So I love how this turned out with the different shades of green, and then the I used the caramel cardstock for the color of the cows, but also colors that are in the rocks and, you know, in some of the grass. I also stenciled here next to the journal box. And so I love how this turned out. So I did this last week. There is no video for this, but this was a fun layout. And I collaged it, okay? I didn't spread the photos out. I just collaged them together, and I like how that turned out. This is another stash buster. This is just 2x2s of the coffee shops and some of the restaurants that we went to. And so I just decided to pull in some greens and navies from stash I have that is not Crib Memories. And then the wood to keep it rustic and keep it going. But there's a lot of green throughout this album and blue, and so I was fine with it. And the lime tart that I use back here still goes with it. So it still ties it all together, even though it's not part of the collection. So this was all the restaurants, and then I just listed it. No need to really journal it, you know, just kind of putting some stickers, keeping it simple because there's a lot going on with the photos. And then this is my end page. This is a border embellishment from, you know, like a laser cut from Deeper in the Woods. This is a lake, 8x10 of a lake that's in a layout prior. And this is an old layered border from Creative Memories from a travel collection. And I just thought this is a great piece to go down here representing the lake. Did a stamp here, and then stencils, you know, arrow stencils, you know, that it's going to continue. I might create a pocket here for some of the postcards I still have left over, considering that. But that is the album that I just finished, and that there are videos for that you can go back and watch. But I do love how this turned out. I'm sorry that this is shaking. I do love how this turned out. So anyway, videos are going to be starting up again. Please like and subscribe my channel. Subscribe to it. It helps it, and liking my videos helps it. And of course, feel free to leave a comment. I always enjoy responding to you and hearing your thoughts. And yeah, I will see you next week. I'm starting to put together some page ideas and layout ideas to get this vehicle rolling again and get picked up after summer. You know, there's a lot that goes on in the summer. So here we go. I hope you're ready, and I will see you next week. All right, take care. Bye-bye.